course, we can now talk about your interview process. So you can discuss the number of rounds, duration, type of questions, and how you presented yourself. And some, you can discuss everything. Technical questions, HR questions. You can discuss these things in a bit detail if possible.
Yes, PayPal had three rounds of interviews. First round was a technical round. So when I joined the call, the interviewer did not ask or my introduction or anything. He
Mhm.
just jumped into questions. He started with asking me about my department, which department I am from, as he had never heard for geoinformatics before. He wanted to know. He was excited to know more about it, like what work we do, and what was my gate paper that I have given it, what was my domain. So I told him that I have done my BTech in CS in computer science, and my gate paper was in computer science. So I've elaborated that with geoinformatics. I told him about the department, and also he wanted to know about the favorite subject. Yeah, he was like that. If you are from some other department, so what is your favorite subject from masters? He wanted to know from masters, because he knows that from BTech people will say data structures and OS or networking. So he wanted to know from masters. So at that time, I had two options in my mind: one to stick with my department subject, or to go with machine learning or deep learning. Since entire institute is working in machine learning and deep learning, almost all the departments and all the branches are having a course or one or two in machine learning, statistics, and deep learning. So I thought of feeding him with something different. I went on with a GIS subject that we have here at GNR, GIS and interoperability. So once I said this subject name, he was curious. He wanted to know that. He said that this is the first time he's hearing about this subject. So he wanted to know more about it. So I went on to explain about the domain and the work that we do, and the project that is related to GIS and interoperability, which covered while explaining uh, GIS project, that is geoinformatics systems. Uh, by explaining to this subject, I fed him with few terms like web services web services that I'm working on the front end, the DBMS, and also I lured him towards my GSOC project, which was somehow dependent on GIS subject.
Yeah.
It is somehow related, yeah. So that because he was not going through my resume, so I had to give him a direction towards the questions. So I have no idea whether he knows that I have a work experience or I have done GSOC. So I have to feed him all those things to him. So while explaining about the subject, I gave him the direction about the GSOC that I have done and the project that I have been working on for the last 3-4 months. So then I asked him whether he is interested to know, because it is clearly related to this domain. So he said that yes, you can proceed. So I gave him a brief idea about the GSOC work that I did there, and while explaining the GSOC, I explained him about the open source and how the community works, and how we used to talk with the mentors, and how this used to proceed with weekly discussions with the team. So this gives him the idea about the team efforts, the team player that I am, and I'm also able to take first-hand priority to the works that I do, and the suggestions and the ideas that I'm capable of giving to the mentors. So I gave him all these ideas, and after hearing this, I think I got his attention towards knowing something different. Then he said that okay, it's enough of all these background stories. Now let's solve a coding question. Well, okay, fine, we can do it. So coding question, he shared, he gave me, okay, this person, he gave me question in chat. In chat he gave me a sample input output, and then he explained me question. He was a bit vague in explaining the question, but i i I need to give this suggestion to the students or the viewers who is listening to this video. Please never hesitate to ask questions. If you are not able to understand the question or the coding problem that the interviewer is giving you, ask as many questions as you want to. They have to explain it to you, the question. Because if we as a students are not able to understand the question or the problem statement, we won't be able to give a solution to it. So we have to ask as many questions as possible, knows all the corner scenarios, all the edge cases, ask for the sample input if possible. Ask him to give a general sample input and output that is required, and then reiterate his words so that the interviewer will also be able to know that you were able to understand his question. So reiterate the question, reiterate the problem statement in your own words that you were able to understand. So if you want, should I add the question? Should I tell you the question?
Yeah, you can add your batchmates will definitely like it. Upcoming, they will like it. Yeah.
Okay. The question was like, it was a bit confusing to question at first, but then when we started listing out the points and then I started asking the question, it became more clear. Because I face this problem, that's why I'm giving you this suggestion. Please never hesitate, because interviewer will give as much like not points. They will give you points to for a right approach. So the question was like, you have a stack of cakes. You have stack of cakes of different diameters, and you have only one operation, that is flip. There's only one operation provided to you, that is a flip operation, and you have to perform this flip operation as many times as you want to make a stack of cake in the order of higher diameter cake layer at the bottom, and the smallest diameter layer at the top. So like a proper cake, pyramid cake that you can make. So it is you have a stack with all the jumbled diameter cake, and there's only one operation, that is flip operation, that you can perform, and by doing this multiple times you have to make the structure of cake. So this was the question. So and this flip operation, there's one restriction to this flip operation, is that you can put a hand at the middle of any of the stack, at the beneath of any of the layer of the cake, and the other part should be on the top.
Yeah.
Means this part can only be flipped. You cannot flip it from between.
Oh.
It only has to be done from top. Yes. So you can choose like flip 4. If I give flip 4 from index number 4 till top, you can flip.
Oh.
So this was the restriction also. This was the constraint. So at the beginning of the interview, the interviewer was not able to convey this question properly to me. So I asked him for proper input and output that he wants. So after that, it was pretty clear that what I need to do, and then I gave him, and he was not expecting a correct solution that should be compiled and executed at that time. No, he just wanted an algorithm, like a working algorithm needed for that question. So after two attempts, I was able to give him an approach that was satisfiable, and he agreed to it. And also the duration for that interview was 30 minutes, but it extended till 45 minutes. Yeah, so he was like a bit happy talking to me and discussing on the question and the problem statement and the solution. So he asked me to forward my he asked me to share my screen, and I was writing on my screen on a notepad. So I was typing on my notepad, and then he asked me to copy paste this solution in the chat window.
Okay.
So I sent him the solution, and after 1 hour, after 45 minutes, 1 hour, I got call for second round.
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was quite impressive as I was listening you quite attentively. But yeah, I could see that you means you drive the course of the interview. So yeah, so that was pretty impressive, and the this fact that both of you could not realize how the time passed. So that shows that the discussion was quite engrossing, and it was a very fruitful discussion. So
fruitful discussion, yes.
Definitely. So that person definitely would have seen something in you. Of course, you answered all the questions and you were quite focused. So time पता नहीं चल पाना अपने आप में एक boon है कि time पता नहीं चला और कैसे, क्योंकि इंटरव्यू वगैरह में time पता चलता है because वहाँ आपकी बज रही होती है.
Right.
But पता नहीं चला, of course it signifies a lot of things. So yeah, so ये राउंड हुआ. इसके बाद तो सेकंड राउंड के लिए आप शॉर्टलिस्ट हुए. उस राउंड में क्या था?
फिर सेकेंड राउंड के लिए मुझे कॉल आया. सेकेंड राउंड, the person who was taking the second round, he was a bit active person. He was very talkative. He was very attentive. But I really enjoyed giving that interview. Actually, from the first round to the second round was more engrossing, and it was like I was not happy after giving the second round. Actually, because the person who was taking my interview, he was very much involved in the discussion, and he wanted to know more about me. Because when the second round started, he was scanning my resume, and I was sitting there, and he was just looking at my resume, and he told me that I am able to see that you have done lots of projects in machine learning, and you're applying for software development. So this will help us a lot, because we're looking for such kind of a person who is able to do software development as well as is good in data science and machine learning. So this was what I was telling you before. So the interviewer told me like directly that they're looking for such kind of person, because at PayPal they have the opportunities and they have team working entirely on machine learning and data scientist. So I said it will be good to have a person who has knowledge of both. But he did not continue the discussion on data scientists there, and he did not go into the technical. He started with a coding question again. He gave me a coding question. He said that let's do coding. Let's do some coding. So he shared his screen, a whiteboard, and there he started drawing a grid, and then numbers, zero, ones, and everything. It was a great question. There's a type of questions like the students who are preparing for competitive coding, they must be knowing that dynamic programming and related to dynamic programming, all the problems on grid, DFS, BFS, these are very important. So if your interview has to go on a harder side, they will end up asking a deep learning question or a grid question. Because if they want to grill you more, they will start with it. Because my first interview had nothing to do with deep learning. It was a simple operation, flip operation, or simple stack question, array stack question. But the second round, since they had to shortlist a lower number of students, so they started on a note of a harder note. So he started drawing images, but since I have done so many questions, I was know where he was going with the question. So I had seen that question before, that grid type of question, but it was not exactly the same question that I have done before, but it was similar type of question. So I started with asking a lot of queries, a lot of corner cases, and all the sample inputs and outputs that I started feeding, asking him by myself. If I give this input, so output is supposed to be this, then he said yes, it's supposed to be this, you are on the right track. So something like that, this kind of a discussion started. I gave him a rough. He did not ask me to write a code or start writing an algorithm right away. He wanted to know my approach first, so like a verbal approach with so I started giving him. I knew two approaches that can be that problem can be solved. It can be solved by DFS and deep learning. Dynamic programming. So I started with DFS. Uh, uh, Depth first search. I gave him an approach like drawing on his whiteboard itself. So he was like at between the course, while I was explaining him the solution, he kept on saying that yes, you're on the right track, yes, you can do this, yes, this is nice. So he was giving me feedback. So I really liked that. Okay, I am going in a right track. So I did not lose my confidence in between. So after I explained him a verbal approach, he asked me for the space complexity and the time complexity. I gave him that. Then he asked me that can I optimize this solution? So I was saving DP solution for this question, because I knew if there is a coding question in the interview, the interviewer will end up asking an optimized solution. So instead of feeding an optimized solution at the beginning, these students try to keep it for the later discussion, because this will help the interviewer to know your thought process. They will be able to know that you are like the variation that your solution goes from higher time complexity, you are able to reduce it to a lower time complexity. They also judge you on this, not on the solution. They judge you on the process, on the solution process that you give them. So then he himself started giving me few hints or suggestions that if I do it like a dynamic programming way, if I take an array and I keep it generally is in like in deep in GP, what happens, you keep an array of records, or whatever the values you are recursively calling, or then the loops that you are calling. So then I said, yes, I can do it with this approach also. And do you know? Then he asked me that, do you know what will be the time complexity if I go with this approach? So I gave him a time complexity. Then he said that, yeah, this will be better than your last approach. Start coding. So he asked me to start coding. I started with, then I shared my screen, on my notepad. I started typing the uh, solution. Uh, at the beginning, I wrote the sample input that he has given, and I kept it for my reference. I have drawn that grid for my reference, and looking at that grid at the reference question, I was uh, able to code the question. So while I was coding, he was giving me feedback like right, correct, good. He was giving this kind of feedback to me. And if I missed a less than to greater than, then he asked me to, is this correct, or means it happens when you are in the interview. You tend to do some silly mistakes. So that interview was good enough to highlight if I am free, means getting nervous or anything. He was able to calm me down. So, but I was able to give him an approach, proper coding, and after coding that solution, I also give him a dry run of that code. The sample input that he has provided, I gave him an output for that, and my code ran pretty well. It was accurate. The result was accurate, and yeah, the discussion ended there. So that was it for the second round.
Okay, okay. Yeah. So again, there was another coding question, though of higher complexity in this round as well. So in both of
Yes.
the rounds, you were having a coding question to solve. And of course, like you mentioned, that the interviewer was always encouraging you, giving you some feedback. So that's why at IIT Bombay, we always say that interview में things will miss. Test तक तो बहुत दिक्कत होती है, but interview में आपको बस confident रहना है. Interview अच्छा होता
Yes.
है normally because they are here to select you. इंटरव्यू तक अगर
Yes,
आप
definitely. That's what I tell my juniors also. They are here to select you, not to reject you. They have to take students, and they are looking for potential candidates. They are looking for potential ones, and they will help you during the interview. They give you hints, they give you approaches. If your approach is wrong, they will ask you to review your answer. They will give you these kinds of feedback. So always take those feedbacks, and don't think that this is driving your interview in the wrong way. No, this means your interview is driving in a good way, because the interviewer wants to select you. That's why he's giving you chances.
Yeah, very true, very true. Yeah, of course, miss, you all means इंटरव्यू में वही है, टेस्ट तक तो it's more or less knockout round है,
Yes.
elimination round है टेस्ट तक. कुछ नहीं पता होता. आपने प्लेसमेंट सेल में देखा भी है कि पता ही नहीं चलता कट ऑफ क्या था. वी नेवर गेट टू नो द कट ऑफ एनी पर्टिकुलर टेस्ट. हमें ये भी नहीं पता होता है क्या सीपीए का भी कुछ रोल हुआ था क्या. बट वंस यू आर शॉर्टलिस्टेड फॉर द इंटरव्यू, तो व्हाट हैपेंस इन द इंटरव्यू रूम वो पूरा आपके ऊपर है. फिर उस केस में इंटरव्यूअर आपकी हेल्प ही करेगा. आपको उस क्लू को कैच करना है, एंड देन यू क्लू क्यू जो भी आप कह लो उसको कैच करना है, एंड देन यू हैव टू ड्राइव योर इंटरव्यू. तो वहां पे आपकी सारी चीजें वही ऑफ कोर्स. तो या सो दैट वे सेकंड राउंड आपका कंप्लीट हो गया. फिर आपका एक और राउंड था. फिर आपका थर्ड राउंड का आया.
Then after 1 hour 15 minutes, I got a call. I had another interview scheduled for that day. So then I got, after 1.5 hours, a call for HR round. So the HR was pretty good. She was like trying to communicate with me as much as possible. She wanted to talk to me, and she wanted to know the kind of person I am. And they want to know whether I'll be able to survive in their work culture, or whether I'll be able to relate to the team efforts, teamwork. Will I be able to do that or not? So she was judging me at every question she was asking me. That was quite inevitable from her looks. So she has prepared few questions for me, but I think that it was like a communication that was happening between us, because I was quite comfortable talking to her, and that HR round went from philosophical to funnier to like it ranged quite a lot. She gave me few like situation based question at the beginning. if you are in a jungle and if a lion approaches you, what are you going to do? Like some these kinds of funny questions she was asking me at the beginning. Then she came up with some personal questions like, what is the most regretful moment for you, compassionate moment, are you influential enough, what are your friends thinks about you, like questions like this, like what is the most impulsive decisions that you have taken till now, uh, something like that. Then she was the one who start, it was only in this interview that she wanted to know more about my work experience. uh, she actually, her question was framed in such a way like, for 2.7 uh, years I have been working in a corporate life, and then I thought to switch on academics, and then again I want to come to corporate. So what, yeah, so this was her question, like why this change of thought, or how were you able to crack your gate while working at Persistent. So I gave a quite a convincing answer, I think, because while at Persistent, I never left learning new things. I was already involved with the academic team at my previous company. So I gave her all these options, and I had a good morning with my team and my managers and everything. So there was a few discussion on my job role. Then also here, yeah, GSOC discussion carried away here also, because I was able to point out my teamwork and my ideas, that I am able to present ideas and to the mentors and give a weekly review of my work. And at the end, I was able to deliver a product, like a working product. So I'm capable of doing that also. So this was in the job or corporate life questions, but some were definitely from personal life, from which she was judging me at every answers. I can see from the look from her face. So I'll suggest the students, please don't fake there at the HR interview. Please don't fake or don't pretend to be something that you are not, because they will find it out. They, because if you are not honest in that interview, you will, like कहते हैं ना कि अपने आंसर्स में you will be lost, because all her questions were related to that on my answers. So it was because one question I remember, she asked like, someone from your family or friends who has a role model, but you don't like that role model, you hate that role model, so give your view on that. So I have to present her a role model which I hate, and all the situations why I hate, all the reasons. So you need to have some background knowledge also about all these things, current affairs and everything. So I was able to share that with her too. So moreover, it went on a positive note from start to end. It was a lively discussion that I was having with her, and I was also enjoying, and I can see that she was also enjoying talking to me, because we were laughing, we were discussing on some issues, the current affairs that were happening, and some family backgrounds, and the cities that I have traveled so far. Like I have been out from my home from 5 years, and this is the first time that I am able to stay at home for such a long time. So we had a discussion on that also. So it was, so in HR round, it's just that you have to be honest and give your answers on your experiences, on your past lives. Don't make up your answers, don't fake it, and don't pretend to be someone that you are not, because they are looking for honest people, and they are looking for some students who will be able to survive or be able to work with them in their work culture, in their office, in their team. So that will help you a lot.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, be yourself. We always say this: be yourself. And if you will cook up a story, then you will be lost somewhere else, because your thoughts will
Right.
not match with another thought. So that's why they might they ask one question, similar question, and again, but in
Answers
different.
has to be impromptu also, because all the questions were back to back questions. You don't have time to think that much or make up an answer, because the first answer that comes out from your mouth, like this person who is on the other side will understand, because you have answered without giving a thought to that question. That means you are not making up that answer. That is the truthful answer. The first answer that comes out from your mouth is always the truthful one. So it's always a back to back answer. You don't have that much time to think about it.
Yeah. And like you mentioned that in case of HR round, you have to speak the things which you have faced or the situations which you have already been into. So those things
Yes.
come handy, and like in your case, your work experience and the cities which you have traveled, everything. So you can always find something in your past or maybe in present to answer the HR questions, and then you will be truthful as well, because since you have been there, you have witnessed all these things. So that will be a very true story, and it will, and you will all be also able to support your story, क्योंकि वहां पे अगर कुकअप किया तो 5 मिनट में कुकअप अगर कर भी लिया, इवन इफ यू कुकअप, तो खुद आप उसको सपोर्ट नहीं कर पाओगे, वो आपके अंदर से नहीं आएगा.
Right.
तो या दैट्स वेरी ट्रू. सो दैट वे देयर वर 3 राउंड्स, दोनों मोर और लेस टेक्निकल थे, फर्स्ट के 2 राउंड्स, और आखिरी का अच्छा राउंड था, और हर राउंड में नॉकआउट होते गए, और फाइनली फिर 5 लोगों को ऑफर दिया, राइट? पांच
Right.
लोगों को
Yeah.
ऑफर दिया. तो मुझे कहीं ना कहीं ये लग रहा है कि आपका जैसे कि सब लोग काफी इंटरव्यूअर्स और क्वाइट इनकरेजिंग, और दे एंड लाइक यू मेंशन दैट कि वो लोग टॉकेटिव भी थे, लाइक
Mhm.
वो अच्छे से बात भी कर रहे थे, एंड सिंस आई कैन आल्सो सी दैट यू कैन टॉक आल्सो वेरी इफेक्टिवली एंड एफिशिएंटली. सो
Yeah.
या इंटरव्यूअर और इंटरव्यू दोनों टॉकेटिव थे कहीं ना कहीं. तो या सही था. और
This helps. This actually helps because they don't want a boring person in their company. They are looking for like a bright or someone who are able to take up the roles, job roles, and they are ready to discuss on any topic given to them.
yeah,
So the companies looks for these qualities in the students too,
yes.
apart from the technical knowledge and this
Yeah.
coding rounds and everything.
Yeah, because if that person is not, so active or rather being passive, then he or she will not be able to take up new challenges. And in your
Right.
early phases, you will be subjected to anything. It might be a new challenge, a new project. You might have to deal with clients. There might be some bad phase, some good phase. So you have to be cheerful at the same time. And you also need to know how to, deliver well within time constraint. So technical skills से आपका वो तो हो जाता है, but आप person कैसे हो, उससे बहुत सारी चीजें आपकी जज होती है कि कंपनी में
Right.
कैसा क्रिएट करेगा या करेगी सारी चीजें. तो ऑफ कोर्स दीज थिंग्स हेल्प. और इन योर केस आई कैन सी दैट यू वर रियली मोटिवेटेड और काफी एनर्जेटिक. आप अभी इतने एनर्जेटिक हो तो उस टाइम तब और energetic रहे होगे, बिकॉज
Thank you.
वो दिसंबर का फर्स्ट सेकंड था, उस टाइम तो जो सो रहे थे वो भी जग रहे थे. So obviously, so कहीं ना कहीं I guess we have covered almost all the aspects. So I guess we have covered all of the things, and you have already explained the things in great detail. Somehow I also love talking to you कि आपने बहुत सारी चीजें बताई, और HR क्वेश्चंस, मुझे कुछ यूनिक क्वेश्चंस भी जानने को मिले, जैसे आपने बताया कि रिग्रेटेबल मोमेंट, इम्पल्सिव डिसीजन, या रोल मॉडल जिसको आप पसंद नहीं करते हो, सॉर्ट ऑफ. तो ये सारे क्वेश्चंस काफी यूनिक लगे मुझे, और काफी अच्छे हैं. और ये जितने वैरायटी के क्वेश्चंस आपको पता हो, आप तैयारी करके जाओ, उतना अच्छा है आपके लिए इंटरव्यू प्रोसेस में. और आपने सारी चीजें बताई कि ट्रूथफुल रहो, सारी चीजें रहो. डेफिनेटली दोस थिंग्स विल कम हैंडी, और दीज विल बी द की टेकअवेज फॉर एनी वन ऑफ अस सिटिंग फॉर द इंटरव्यूज. Yeah. So I guess we have covered pretty much everything. Thank you very much. Thank you, Farheen, for explaining.
Thank you, Siddhartha, for calling me. Thank you.
Yeah.
It was nice talking to you also.
Yeah.